Good afternoon and welcome to this month's Lunch and Learn. Today we are going to talk about understanding what caregiver burnout is, a little bit of how we might be able to help this so we're not feeling so burnt out all the time. So before we can talk about what caregiver burnout is, we need to talk a little bit about what burnout is. So, burnout is the state of emotional, physical, or mental exhaustion caused by excessive and prolonged stress. It occurs when you feel overwhelmed, emotionally drained, and unable to meet consistent demands. So, one, burnout's talked a lot about in professional careers and when you're just working all the time. Burnout is also kind of clumped in with depression, although it's very different. Um, but I also wanted to take a moment to kind of tell the differences or similarities between burnout and depression. Burnout and depression do share some symptoms, so it can be challenging to tell these two apart. So here's how depression and burnout can be similar. Both are caused by physical and mental symptoms. Both can cause symptoms that last for weeks, months, and even years. Both can make it difficult to go about your usual activities, so such as work or caregiving, or when you have to juggle multiple responsibilities, and especially if it's untreated. Both can be linked to other physical and mental health problems, and both can be treated with therapy, medication, lifestyle changes. So, what is caregiver burnout? What's the difference? Many caregivers put so much of their time and energy and efforts into their children and their families that sometimes they end up really neglecting themselves and their own needs. This results in caregiver burnout. So, this is a condition in which you are so exhausted that you feel you have nothing left to give. The problem with caregiver burnout is that most people think it's just a normal part of caring for their families. With the resources of this presentation, there's a link to a short quiz that you can take to kind of help indicate, are you suffering from caregiver burnout, and potentially how much caregiver burnout could be affecting you. I'm also going to put that link down in the chats so you can quickly get to that. And again, though this quiz is not 100%, it will at least give you an idea about where you may or may not stand. So some possible contributing factors to caregiver burnout. So caregiver burnout can be a result of various factors that can take a toll on one's mental, physical, and emotional health. Insufficient support from family members or community can lead to feelings of being isolated and overwhelmed. High levels of responsibility, whether it be managing your household, supporting your family, juggling multiple roles, um, can also contribute to strains that you may feel when caring for your family. External factors, such as natural disasters, can add an additional layer of stress. Um, because of these disrupting our routines and causing anxiety in not only ourselves, but young children. Another fact that may cause some burnout is when you're caring for young children and aging parents at the same time. If you're in that kind of family dynamic that's going to be taking care of both at the same time, it's very challenging. And then financial worries is another common stressor for parents, as the pressure to provide for your families and make ends meet becomes more and more overwhelming. So it's important for caregivers to be able to recognize these things and to find support when needed, to be able to ask for support when you need it. And it's definitely one of the most important things when you're caring for your families and yourself. So we're gonna quickly talk about how caregiver burnout affects your mental health. As a result of caregiver burnout, you may feel extremely exhausted, feel emotionally distant from your children and from other loved ones. You may be doubting your ability as a caregiver. These significantly affect your mental health depending on the severity of caregiver burnout. You can have various effects on your mental health, including brain fog. So, this feeling of confusion and being disoriented and knowing what you want to do, but at the same time, not knowing how you're going to get it done. Feeling disorganized, I'm finding it hard to focus, and even putting your thoughts into words. You may feel isolated, so you feel very separated from your family, from other friends, feeling very alone throughout the day. You may also notice when people are like, oh, I love just having a conversation with other adults. Um, you may notice that you're having poor sleep. So you're either having a really hard time falling asleep or you're having a hard time staying asleep at night. Um, this may also be a factor where you're up really, really early in the morning and you're like, oh, this is just the new normal, being up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. That's just what I do now. You may notice that you have a shorter temper. Things that didn't bother you as much before now seem to really bother you. Confusion, which is different than brain fog. Because you kind of feel like things are very unclear and you don't know what's going on. You're having trouble understanding questions that people might be asking or what to do next. And then having some forgetfulness. And though maybe forgetting where you put your keys is pretty typical, but forgetting kind of more important things like I can't remember my own birthday. I can't remember my child's birthday without really taking a minute to step back and think about these things. So again, this becomes a problem when you're having a hard time recalling these bigger pieces of information, but also when you're having a hard time going from that caregiver role back to what you were doing before, be it cooking dinner, be it another household chore, or if you have a job outside of the house, getting back into that mode because you're forgetting the steps that you were already in the process of doing. Caregiver burnout can also affect your relationships. So it can affect your relationship with your partner. Its mental effects leads to breakdowns in communication and increased tension These can lead to miscommunications. This can lead to having arguments more often. Um, After a while, this may build some resentment. Burnout can also affect the relationships that you have with your children and other family members. So you're not feeling as connected as you once did. Like you're kind of just going through the motions and taking care of what needs to be done throughout the day. Emotional distance can impact your child's development, which may lead to other problems down the road. So some changes that you can make if you're feeling like you're starting to experience any of these symptoms of caregiver burnout, one of the first things that you want to do is communicate your feelings, be it with your partner or a friend or other family members, um, and really let them know this is how I'm feeling, this is what's going on. When you're experiencing symptoms of burnout, another way to start making changes is to watch what you're eating, to watch what you're drinking. Um, we know that when we're feeling exhausted, it's really, really easy to grab a coffee, to grab a quick snack and not eat a full nutritious meal. Um, we may forget that water is really important. Um, and though these snacks and coffees and sugary treats may be really tasty at the time, they lead to really hard crashes, um, which makes the later part of our day kind of harder to get through. So we need to be more conscious about fueling our bodies with the foods and nutrients we need to make it through the day and hit long-term goals. Exercise and physical activity is another way to boost your energy throughout the day. Um, it raises the feel-good hormones in your body and reduces stress and depression. So being able to find a way to exercise does not mean that you need to go to the gym every day and work out for an hour. Even just a quick 10-minute walk around the block can really help clear your mind and get things back together. And though when we talk about making these changes and being able to find things to do for yourself, if you're noticing just you and your kids are kind of needing a break and needing to kind of reset, going outside for that really quick walk is a good way to do that. We also are to start setting some realistic goals and expectations. Look at what the to-do list of the day entails and to be okay if some of the things have to be done another day, or if you expected to get 4 or 5 things checked off your list before lunch, be okay if some of those things get shifted down to after lunch. Also, be realistic in your expectations about, do these things need to stay on my to-do list at all? Is this something that I can do another season? Is this something I was wanting to do? Like, it would be nice if I could get this thing done, but if it doesn't get done, that's okay too, and we'll fit it in at a better time during the day, week, month, whenever we can kind of sneak it back in. Another thing to help is to give your children some age appropriate tasks that they can do around the house. This can be simply asking your younger children to help pick up toys or bring laundry baskets down to the laundry room or help set the table before a meal, to help clear the table after a meal. Simple tasks for given the age that they're at. As they get older, obviously, they can either take these tasks on completely by themselves without help from either a parent or being given tasks that are a little more detailed, a little more thought or things that they could do without help. Most importantly, don't feel guilty about taking time for yourself. This does not mean that you're a bad parent because you want to spend a few minutes reading a book, drinking your coffee on the porch by yourself, whatever you want to do to be able to focus on yourself. The truth is, when you take the time to focus on yourself and kind of fill your own cup, that you are making yourself a better caregiver for your children and family down the road. So, raising children can be both really rewarding and super challenging all at the same time. Children don't come with instruction manuals or resource guides to help us through these tough times. Feeling exhausted and worn out is likely to happen, especially in the early years. Be alert and recognize symptoms of caregiver burnout early so you can put a stop to it before it gets too late. Remember to ask for help, take a few minutes for yourself, and give yourself a chance to rest. If you're concerned about your energy levels, your mental health, or your overall well being, do not hesitate to seek professional help as they are able to provide you with more tips to manage these symptoms. So I want to thank everyone for joining this month's Lunch and Learn. As always, my information is here. If you have any questions, if you have any information you'd like to share, please do. And again, here are the resources, and the last link at the bottom is the burnout quiz that I am going to put into the comments below. If you would like a copy of this information, please reach out and I will be able to share. Hope everyone has a great day and look forward to seeing you next month.